up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube? We back with another reaction, man. It's that YNW Melly.
That murder trial.
Yeah, murder trial. I can't get it out, man. yes, we
What
did
y'all
it, man.
think? He guilty or he innocent?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know what's going on. I didn't know this happened all the way in 2018.
Yeah.
And it's just now going to trial 2023.
Yeah, if they hold you this long, man, evidently they got the evidence, man. You did that shit.
So they got the gun and everything.
Nah, they got a gun. I don't think.
So what evidence they got? The phone records and shit.
Phone records and how the bullets enter and exit out of their head. You know,
Yeah, cause you know, what's that? What's that? Equalizer.
Yeah.
That wasn't Equalizer.
Not equalizer, but I know
It
you're
was a
talking about.
movie with Denzel Washington. He was timing like how the bullets would go. I think it was Deja Vu.
Yep, I think so.
I think so too. If
But
y'all know
yeah.
what I'm talking about, then y'all know.
Yeah, but yeah, that's true though. Cause you know when you shoot something, it's an enter. The enter be bigger than the exit one, because when they enter, it's more force, especially if it's close range. You know that? Close range, it'd be bigger.
Oh, I figured that though. Like,
Next to the exit wounds. It's the difference between them. Oh yeah, let me tell you. Oh.
let's get into this video.
On October 26th of 2018, this defendant shot and killed two of his friends.
He was Scorpio.
He killed Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to set out
He
the
did it.
story
It happened in
and how this
October too.
unfolded
It did it.
and lay out what I expect
Halloween,
evidence will
he
show
did it.
during the course of this trial.
That wasn't him. That was
First thing you are going to hear is
Yeah.
at 4:35 a.m.
That's
on
he
October
motherfucker went to
26th
school
of
with it. They crazy
2018.
then.
Cortland Henry, the co-defendant,
I ain't want to know
shows
Melly,
up
but I
at
knew you had Melly
Memorial
then.
Miramar Hospital.
Female.
In his car, he has two dead bodies. In the front passenger
They got Loretta
seat
ass up next.
is Anthony
Female,
Williams.
man.
In the rear passenger seat is Christopher Thomas. They are dead, they are riddled with bullets, and the car is full of blood.
so Melly wasn't in there.
Christopher Thomas is sitting in the rear.
Melly
There
wasn't.
is
No,
multiple
I'm saying
defects
like
to
when
his
he
body.
took him to the hospital.
Nope.
Anthony Williams,
That's what
who
they
is sitting in the
said, man.
front, has two
Yeah, all
major
that's together.
injuries.
I one didn't return.
Officer Jessica Amangor is working
That's
the
a red
detail
flag.
at the hospital. Cortland
If
Henry
he did all this, he
runs
could just
in,
pay somebody to shoot
starts
the
telling
gun.
a story
The fuck?
about a drive-by.
Now you finna get the death
Quote,
penalty.
unquote,
You going up
drive.
against getting the death penalty.
Cortland
That's
Henry, and you're going to learn a
might
lot
beat
about
that,
Miramar geography during the course of this
Still
trial,
get life.
tells a story that he and his buddies, just the two that are in the car, were at a music studio here in downtown Fort Lauderdale at 805
That's
Northeast 4th
Yep.
Avenue. He's going to tell law enforcement, and you're going to hear this statement. You're going to hear the actual audio
She look like
of him
she a
telling
bitch.
law enforcement.
I think that's where you from, man.
We were at the recording studio
She married though.
Drove
She
home.
definitely
as they lived out in Western.
Ah,
You're going to hear Cortland say
give me that bitch,
that they
man.
come across
Guys,
at the travel,
Welcome.
that they're getting off
Back it
the
up.
highway
So
on
bad.
I-75 southbound to go west
Crazy
on
neck.
Miramar Parkway.
The
And
neck.
you're going to hear that on Miramar Parkway sometime
Neck.
between 160th,
Shit,
which is also
what's the
become
way-
your
maybe
first
that's
side
it.
road, and
Yeah,
172nd.
Hey, the comments you grown up, you know what I'm talking about? You tell me.
He ducked down.
Yeah, I'm
seen
so happy
doing
that
that in the
happened.
video.
She look good
And
with them
he didn't
motherfuckers,
see
though.
any car, he didn't see any people, he has no information. And that he quickly went to the nearest hospital. So you're gonna learn that when you go on Miramar
Like
Parkway,
this.
and you take that right at 172,
Good weed.
Memorial Miramar is just about 1 mile north. So the
172,
distance-
772.
Welcome to Flatiron School. This is where you learn how the future works, where the whole point of education is to
Between most major intersections in Broward County is 1 mile. So you're gonna learn that from 160th to 172nd, 1 mile. From 172nd to the next major intersection on Miramar Parkway, 184th, 1 mile. So you're going to hear and find that Mr. Henry's statement that the car is traveling westbound on Memorial
He could
Parkway
at least
and
shot
goes north at
himself.
172nd and
You know,
shows up at the
Shot the
hospital.
Had
dude.
somebody to
The
shoot
drive-by
him.
is completely
Anything.
and utterly false.
I don't know what's going on.
How can I tell you that,
I
Lacey?
don't know if he guilty or
Well,
innocent or well,
The
but
detectives from
It's look like
Miramar
guilty.
at this point
they ain't holding one for
shut down the
nothing.
entire length of Miramar
That's
Parkway
how I think.
from 160th to 172nd. And they sit and they walk side by side for an hour, that mile-long stretch, looking for evidence of this drive-by. Because evidence is the remnants a crime leaves behind. And in this case, the lack of evidence,
Wood and scissors
very
on
important.
hand.
there is
Smoke
a
wood,
lack
you know.
of any evidence whatsoever
You know.
to support that a drive-by happened on Miramar Parkway. What would they look for? Shell casings,
Especially you from St. Louis.
Glass
I need my
fragments.
free pack.
projectiles, tire marks.
Sponsor me. I'm always smoking.
You're going to hear that there is none of that found whatsoever. So then they say, well, maybe we have the time frame wrong. Maybe we have the location wrong. So they walk an additional mile from 172 to 184.
7.
Still nothing.
That's why I said that 772.
No broken glass, no projectiles,
Oh, this still making sense.
no
It's
fire
crazy.
casings.
You don't think that makes
Detectives
sense?
know they have a Jeep that they are looking at the Memorial Miramar Hospital that has 16 easily identifiable bullet defects.
Yeah, he knew some witchcraft.
That has a broken out rear view window and 2 broken side windows
Still
on the
free though.
passenger side.
I don't know if he did or not. But it's free until
Things aren't adding
it come
up.
out.
So detectives work
Don't mean they right
backwards.
either though.
They are then able to determine that 805 Northeast 4th address, that it's a recording studio, and that the recording studio is equipped with cameras. And ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see footage from both inside and outside of that recording studio. You're going to learn that on the morning of the 26th at approximately 1 p.m., detectives went out to the recording studio to try and see if somebody had followed the victims, to find out how they knew where they were going to be
Right.
to set up this drive.
Right. That's the main key. How did they know their location?
First time
Did he post the location?
detectives learned that there was actually 4 people in that gray Jeep, and that the defendant, Jamel Demons, is in the rear driver's side seat.
How do you know what car y'all in?
So let me set the scene
That's
for
the
you at the
red flag.
recording
That is me.
studio, because there's actually 8 young men there. You're going to hear they arrived at the recording studio, not much was
Right, where the
getting
other
done.
group of those?
They were tired. They left at 3:19, and they got into 2 vehicles. So first vehicle
Tell them.
is a red Mitsubishi SUV. In that red Mitsubishi SUV, 4 individuals get into it.
Damn, bitch.
Travion Glass, Dontavius Withers, Jacoby Mills, and Adrian Davis. They are in the red Mitsubishi. In the gray Jeep, you have the driver, Cortland
Yeah,
Henry, rear driver's side passenger, Jamel Demons, Anthony
Great job,
Williams
buddy.
in the front seat, and Cortland
Shot, yeah.
Henry again, the driver, Christopher Thomas in the rear. What you will find, and
Female
what you will
lady.
hear, ladies and gentlemen, is that this gray Jeep leaves the recording studio, goes over to I-95, takes I-95 south to 595, 595 across to I-75 south, I-75 south to Miramar Parkway. You're going to see traffic cameras from the Department of Transportation that show the cars going across 595, one after the other. In those videos, you're not going to see them stop. And it's just a small portion of which is covered by cameras on that. But then what you're going to see is the cell phone evidence.
I ain't gonna lie, man. They
They
get
might as well go ahead and
death
do
penalty,
this.
man. That's like that'd be crazy. I don't think they should do it like that. But that nigga definitely need to be locked up if he did this shit. Cause that's some fucked up shit. Like the industry downplay Lil Tim for who he killed. But y'all said free him, and if it's a possibility he done killed his friends, his best friends at that. That's some crazy ass shit too.
That shit crazy.
Y'all fucked up. Y'all need to apologize with Tim if he get convicted of these murders. Y'all need
The
to
digital
apologize.
leash.
Don't they? I think so.
The item that is carried around in everyone's pocket,
But he protected his best
in
friend.
everyone's car,
He protected.
used on a daily
He killed his
basis.
best friends.
Because you're going to see,
Well, my city would.
as
They
Janelle
back
Demmons
up.
leaves that recording studio,
They kill each other all the
he's
time.
got his phone in his hand, and he's playing on his phone. You're going to see on that phone information that Anthony Williams had his phone with him.
Anthony Wood.
And the interesting fact that's important to keep in mind is Anthony Williams, the deceased in the front passenger seat, and Jamel Demons, who is the shooter,
Excuse me.
in the rear driver's side
I got a
passenger.
question, man. Y'all gonna do something stupid.
So what was his location on? Like that location was on?
Okay, listen. No matter if you cut your location up, airplane mode, it's connected to a tower. All they have to do is go to them towers to still give you location. Please, let me tell you guys something. Leave the phones at home. If you're a person with your phone in your hand, you know they got cameras, you really should never got in the car at all. The dude
Don't
boiling,
do the shit at all.
the dude boiling should have just drove the fucking car and did what he had to do. Like, you got money, bro. Like, that don't even make sense. Like, me, if I was one of them motherfucking prosecutors, I'd be like, he did it. I'd write off he did it because the evidence there. You know, that shit don't make sense.
Have the exact same make and model of cell phone. Not only do they have the same make and model of cell phone, they are on the exact same
The family
cell
won't do
phone
that shit
brand.
either, man. There's some other shit behind the scenes that'll come
They're
out.
using the
I
same
think that'll make
service,
trial.
the same cell
Ain't nobody-
towers,
You know, you best friend,
everything
you did
like
it.
that.
You did all you could do.
Right.
So you can
Muffle ain't
compare.
There's
Then
nothing
he
more
blowing the
powerful
kiss.
than you.
Say something
Making
on,
your
I think
thing
on,
happen.
my mixtape on
Really
Instagram.
The
Seen him blow a
information
kiss to the
from
family,
those
like,
two
they
cell
like that
phones
shit.
and
That's
see
evil.
how they track together. Christopher Thomas, who's the deceased in the rear
Let's be
passenger
real,
seat,
though. Who really want to kill
he
y'all?
had his iPhone as
No,
well,
it's a high
and he was on
no,
the Sprint.
profile crowd.
service
I
at the
did some
time.
crazy ass shit to him.
In the other car, that red Mitsubishi, Dontavius Withers also had a Sprint service cell phone. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have individuals.
Fuck.
I got one more question. One more, what's the thing? It's not a question. I got one more thing to say, and I'm gonna let it play through a little longer. But it's like, be honest with you, know how they call XXX murder? They done did it the best way they could, right? Mass on all that shit. When it's a hop, y'all, it's the rappers out the fucking, city, and you big in the city. Like, you think they ain't gonna fully investigate this shit? Like, if they don't solve this murder, because it's so big to the public, they're gonna look like a fool. That city gonna look like a fool. So they solving these crimes, man. Y'all not understanding what's going on. Like Atlanta and all these cities cracking down because they don't want crime. There's a lot of money in the city. They don't like the crime to keep going on and stopping their money flow. I'm telling y'all, they better wake up. They cracking down on
Two
rappers.
cars, and all
Cracking
the
down on
cell
y'all.
phone tracks
Making an example out of
together.
rappers.
Going across
couldn't get money for the
595,
city,
going
don't mean
until they
nothing.
get to Miramar Parkway and 184th. At
Bring it up,
184th,
going the right way.
the red
Get
Mitsubishi
money,
goes
too.
south. And you will then
Wow, that
see
money
it
control,
at
yeah.
3:50 a.m. going through the guard gate at Sunset Lakes.
Problem is
That was the
everybody.
gated community in which the individuals were all living at the time of this homicide in October of 2018. On the Sunset Lakes guard video, the red Mitsubishi goes through, the gray Jeep doesn't. The gray Jeep instead goes north
Mm.
and then proceeds to go to the actual scene of the homicides.
Mm.
The gray Jeep goes north on 184th up to Pines Boulevard. From Pines Boulevard, it travels west all the way to the edge of the Everglades, where it is desolate, where it is dark, where there are no witnesses. The gray Jeep goes down south on US 27 and turns left on Pembroke Road. You're going to learn that Pembroke Road does not connect through. That right there, Pembroke Road dead ends at a trash facility. That at that recycling facility, you're not going to see people. You're not going to see activity.
Makes
There's no
sense.
street lights. And at 4:02 a.m., Jamel Demons exits that vehicle and stages that drive-by. Because, ladies and gentlemen, remember, at this time, Miramar is going and working backwards. They're looking for communication to figure out how and why and how the location of this Jeep was known, why they would be targeted. At that point, there is no communication. You're not going to see any sort of phone calls, any sort of text messages going out, setting up any sort of meeting at the edge of the Everglades at 4 in the morning.
Man.
What you are going to find is that
Another question right here, like, if you gonna do it that way, you could have hit somebody up, you know what I'm saying, that in that area, like you finna get some marijuana. Something tell you like, oh, we was here and they shot the, you know, it make it look better. Like, what is you at this location for? You know what I'm saying? It making sense, a lot of sense.
after the surveillance footage is brought up, some of these other individuals say, oh no, we stopped. We stopped the car and Mr. Demons on the side of the highway got out of the gray Jeep and got into the red Mitsubishi. But ladies and gentlemen, it's important to know and look at the details, because the details don't match up. One person says, oh, it's at this location. One person says it's over here on the side of the road. Look at what the physical evidence shows, and that's what I would suggest to you as the most reliable things.
That's how that story's messed up. But once you get locked up, picked up, how can you communicate? Unless y'all send a kite and they gonna catch that type of shit.
So on the physical evidence, the Jeep is towed to the Miramar substation, and a search warrant is executed on it. And at that point, officers, crime scene technicians, and investigators start going through the contents of the Jeep. And all of
And this right here, I tell people all the time, if that would have came back, it was a drive-by shooting, that man would have been sitting these many years for that. She would have been out okay. He probably would have been a prime suspect, but they've been looking for somebody else to put in that seat. He wouldn't be sitting there that long. I'm just letting y'all know that too.
the
Once they
ballistic
got that Jeep and it was a drive-by,
From the
he could
drive-by.
take both out.
are all coming from the passenger
Right
side
or wrong?
in towards the driver's side. And then from the rear of the vehicle,
Too much evidence.
forwards towards the front.
I regretted my buying a long time ago.
The medical examiner's office is also conducting an investigation. You're going to hear testimony about the autopsies that were conducted on Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas. And this is when the suspicion,
Yes, I'm
the
talking.
investigation takes a turn.
That's scary. Boy, they
Because
got
at
this
that
wrong.
point, the fatal wounds for Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams are coming from inside the vehicle, from the rear driver's side passenger going out towards the passenger side. The other interesting thing the medical examiner's office is going to tell you is that when the drive-by
They want to tell you.
was staged at 4:02 a.m., the victims were already dead. The medical examiner will be able to testify and tell you that the fatal shots to Anthony Williams, to his head, that enters in the back of his head and exits at the top, blowing out the front passenger window, was fatal. And that the additional wounds that are consistent with the trajectories going through the vehicle, he's already dead. They are post-mortem inflicted gunshot wounds. The same for Christopher Thomas. You will hear from the medical examiner's office, Dr. McDougall and Dr. Souter, who conducted the autopsies, that Christopher Thomas was shot in his left cheek.
And I'm gonna tell one more thing to you. I don't know what conversation they had with their moms or sister, brothers, whatever. Let them know, like, if something happened to me,
I
they did it.
still want to know
Like, we don't know none of this.
what
Yeah.
made him do it. Like, what's
Money.
the problem?
The motive, money. That man just
Like,
signed a
did he
deal.
sacrifice them?
No, he signed a deal type, you know, and people feel like they're entitled with them. They was rappers
Or that
too.
child?
They entitled. Where our money at? You got chains, you got a G. You go look back at the video. They not dressed up. Secretaries got some simple stuff on. Go look. So they mama, mama's in your ear. I'm happy about your career, but what's really going on? Like, ain't nothing. Feel like it's money. He didn't want to give them, break them down, no money. So it's like, you don't know what they done told people. You know what I'm saying? Or what words they had. He probably played it cool and, whole time he finna back door, yeah.
That was the fatal shot for him. You're also going to hear about stippling. Stippling is unburnt gunpowder that's ejected from the front of a firearm when a bullet is fired. The best way to describe that and make it easy to understand, you have a handful of sand, soot, and a golf ball. You throw it. The golf ball is going to go the furthest because it has the most weight, the most mass. The sand weighs a little bit more than the soot, so it's going to go a little bit further, but not as far as the golf ball. The ash, the soot, which has almost no weight, no mass, therefore it can't have any energy put into it, falls very quickly. So that is the same principle that comes to gunshot residue and the powder types.
Shaving can be the pits. So ditch the razor and get one free treatment at Milan.
That you're going to hear about the stippling. The bullet travels the furthest. The gunshot residue, the powder tattooing, the stippling, creates a pattern. And from that pattern, the medical examiner's office can give an approximate distance. Why can they not give an exact one? Because their firearm in this case was never recovered.
No.
Law enforcement made diligent efforts to go and dive multiple canals, search multiple areas, apartments, storage units. They were never able to find the firearm. So without the actual firearm that was used in this case, you can't accurately and reliably recreate a distance determination. Common sense, ladies and gentlemen, the things that you learned in elementary school science about conducting science experiments, they apply just as much now as they did then.
Yep.
You have to minimize the number of variables. That's the only way to get an accurate experiment. So if you don't know the type of gun, you can't minimize the variables to get that distance determination. So what you're also going to hear is while law enforcement is going through that Jeep, they find one spent shell casing for a .40 caliber firearm. Why is that important? That shows a gun was fired inside of that car.
It should not be shells flying into
You're
the
going
car.
to hear that at once the location of US 27 and Pembroke Road was discovered, law enforcement goes out to that area as well.
Yeah.
And there they locate an additional 8 shell casings, .40 caliber.
I don't know.
But the interesting thing about that is that doesn't happen on October 26th of 2018. This happens on November 21st, almost a month later. Because that's when law enforcement gets the reliable cell phone tracking data that they use to determine that's the area that they need to be searching. Because at that location is where the cell phones of Christopher Thomas, Anthony Williams, and Jamel Demmons all line up at 4:02 a.m. That point, afterwards, Mr. Demmons' phone tracks with the 2 victims until about 4:20. So 15 minutes before Cortland Henry takes the victims to the hospital. During those 30 minutes, you're going to hear as to where the path went. You're going to hear that law enforcement then searched that path again looking for trace evidence, such as firearms. They didn't find it. But you're also going to hear that Jamel Demmons, on the side of the road, made a FaceTime video chat. At that point, he starts setting up the story. He FaceTimes his girlfriend at the time, Mariah Hamilton. Mariah Hamilton gets the phone call and screams, waking up her mother, Felicia Holmes. Felicia Holmes also sees the defendant, Jamel Demmons, on that FaceTime video call. And you're going to learn, ladies and gentlemen, that that's a data event on a cell phone. It's not a call for the purposes of the cell phone companies. It's using data, accessing the internet. Felicia Holmes and Mariah Hamilton see Jamal Devins outside, and he is saying he's just been involved in a drive-by, and he thinks Anthony Williams and Chris Thomas are dead. So what you're also going to find out is while Mr. Devins is out there on the side of the road, 4 in the morning, 4:42 specifically, he sends a drop pin, digital homing beacon, to his current location to one of his friends, Frederick Givens. Frederick Givens is also involved in the music industry, and he asked to be picked up. Frederick Givens, then, about 11 minutes later, is sent another drop pin where Mr. Devins has moved a couple of meters. What you're going to find out as well, though, is these digital leashes,
Fredo Bank, you love that?
they have more than just phone calls, accessing the internet.
What the fuck
They
you
have
got
health
this
law.
for, though?
You probably the city.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to find and hear and be able to see the videos at the recording studio and see Mr. Devins taking steps. Lo and behold, look at the health activity data, a pedometer, a step counter, that's what it is. 70 steps. Then you're going to see at 4:02 a.m. another 70 steps. Then at 4:42, the time frame in which he's sending that drop pin to 4:53 a.m., you're going to see 1,397 steps. You will see this data showing the defendant had the phone and was using it. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that I have to prove is the defendant committed the crime. And to do that, the state intends to show the evidence that the phone was there at the murder scene, and there were no other phones there. There is no one else out there at 4 in the morning.
You got the towels.
So to do that, the state has to convince each and every one of you that this was the phone of the defendant. You'll see in the messages and the contents of those messages him identifying himself. This is Melly, giving out that phone number to multiple people as being his phone number, 772-713-9807. And to further prove that,
What is
the
this?
state is going to show you the
That's his
Instagram,
own.
No,
the
I'm saying,
Facebook.
where is that in Florida?
Yeah, that's
Snapchat.
Florida area code.
because
Well,
contrary to
yeah.
popular belief, Snapchat doesn't disappear. And detectives were able to write a search warrant and get contents of Snapchat. And there are things that are there, and there are things that are not.
Gilbert, Florida.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, specifically,
Gilbert.
the Instagram, the defendant, during the course of the months of October of 2018 through December of 2018, gives out his phone number 15 times. Says, "This is me,"
Wow.
and all during the same time frame of October 26th of 2018, he's giving out that phone number.
I think he's from Gilbert.
So
some
one of the
shit.
other elements that you heard about initially was that this was committed by a criminal gang member in furtherance of a criminal gang. So what you will learn from the evidence, from the Instagram, from the private messages, was that Jamal Devins is a member of the G Shine Blood set. This is not a stage personality. This is not an actor that's playing a character. This was his real life.
That's crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will see that as soon as October 24th, 2 days before the homicide, Jamal Devins is learning the oath of loyalty to the G Shine Blood set. You're going to see things in these messages that will be indicative of blood membership. For example, anytime a word would normally be spelled with a C, as in Charlie, they don't use that. They replace it with the letter B. So instead of saying, I'm at the crib, they say, I'm at the brib. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because C is associated with cribs. B is for bloods. So if you look through all the messages, you will notice time and time again, Jamel Demons is dropping C's and using B's. And you're going to see pictures, you're going to see videos of the defendant doing something called stacking, which is a way to show a gang affiliation and to broadcast it to the world. And this is not just in music videos. This is not just in lyrics. Because we're not going to get into that. That's artistic expression. That's not why we are here today. We are here because the defendant murdered 2 individuals. So in summary, the last thing I want to tell you that the evidence will show is that in the Instagram, because the defendant had a moderate social media following at the time of these events, people are reaching out to him. Some fans, some friends, some associates. You'll see on October 26th, after about 8 a.m. in the morning, Eastern time, multiple messages are coming in. Messages are coming in from individuals checking to see if he's okay, if he's been injured in this drive-by. If it's true that Anthony Williams, who's also sometimes referred to as Sack, and Chris Thomas, who is referred to as Juvie, are really dead. One individual, and specifically, sends out, and I want to quote the message exactly that you will hear, and says, right after this, yo homie, you good? Let me know something. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this is where context matters. What does that mean?
To let me know if you're good.
If you work at Google and you say, my whole floor is coded, that's a good thing. If you work at Broward General Hospital and you say, my whole floor is coding, that is a bad thing. The context around the messages matters. So in the context of this message, this individual is reaching out, asking if Mr. Demons is good, after he's been tagged in multiple social media posts about this drive-through, this shooting. And Mr. Demons responds very succinctly, I did that. Shh. Ladies and gentlemen, at the conclusion of the evidence, the state is confident that you will find the defendant guilty as charged of the first.
Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe on game.